Hello my friends, and welcome to the 8th answer video, and a very Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Now, I know it's been a little bit of time since the last one, and kind of funnily, I thought it was maybe like a week or two since I made the last video, but as it turned out, it's almost an entire month. So I'm very sorry for having made you wait that long. So I do intend to get to all the questions and keep this chain going. And as I alluded to in a past video, I am entertaining the idea of turning this into a more or less regular feature, maybe like once a week or something, where I will just answer the questions that people leave on the previous week's video or something like that. I don't know. Haven't worked out the details yet, but it's an idea. So, unfortunately, I'm not entirely certain I'm going to remember which questions I answered and which ones I didn't, but we're going to try our best and continue with the questions left on the third answer video. And once we do that, we'll go on to the fourth and so on until we catch up. Okay. Starting from the top, Flying Stealth Banana asks, Banana's big question, what do you think of opening up a Discord channel to allow your fans to have an opportunity to sometimes chat with you about games and stuff? Yeah. And that is actually something that I am strongly considering, and I would like the input of everyone watching this video right now as to whether you'd be interested in joining such a Discord. If I get enough people who express interest in the comments here that they would be willing to join a Bone Canoe 86 Discord, I'll very strongly consider making it. Now, I've been in Discords before, but I've never really made one on my own, so I'm going to have to look into how exactly that's done. I don't think it's that complicated, but you know, the idea of a little group where those of us, you know, me and those of you who are in the comments often and talking, it would be really nice, I think, if we all had a Discord group and could chat and do that kind of stuff. I can't promise that I'll be in the voice chat that often, but I'm pretty sure there will be voice chat opportunities, you know. Maybe, you know, even opportunities for those of you who want to be in this Discord to be in videos. It's something that might happen. So yeah, please, if you're interested in joining a Bone Canoe Discord, please tell me, and I will strongly consider the idea. Yes, there is already a House of Sim Discord, but that's sort of like different, you know. That's sort of, the House of Sim Discord is like is more or less a clubhouse for longtime House of Sim members. It's kind of a different animal than what a Bone Canoe Discord would be, if you understand what my meaning is there. Okay. Yes, let's see, is any of this a question? Well, he has pointed out that Roller Coaster Tycoon is great, and he'd like to see me make more, I think, and also Minecraft. I don't know if you were around in the old days, but I did quite a few Minecraft videos from 2011 all the way up until 2014, but I would be definitely willing and happy to get back into Minecraft. Not exactly sure what I'd do in Minecraft, but there's always plenty of options, given the scope of the game, of course. Let's see. Answered that one. Answered that one. Okay, another request for Roller Coaster Tycoon. Yeah. If you keep asking, I might do it. I have to look into that OpenRCT too, because, you know, the version from Good Old Games just crashes like all the time. But definitely I'd like to do that because building theme parks and building roller coasters and things like that is very fun for me. ZL Entertainment says, I'm not sure why, but I'd like to see you play a game like GTA Vice City. I think that would be great fun. Actually, you know, that is something that I have considered in the past. And if I do a GTA Let's Play, I'd be more likely to do San Andreas than Vice City, because that's the one GTA title that I've played most extensively. But of course, Vice City is legendary, so that might be a consideration. I don't know if people out there would be too interested in seeing me do that, especially because you know, you're going to be pulling your hair out at how much I suck at the game, but, you know, I've enjoyed it, so why not? Why not do it? Something I might consider for 2018. I've answered these questions. I've answered that question, and I've answered that question. So, that is good. We can simply go on to the next answer video, and I haven't looked at these questions, at least not in a long time, so prepare for spontaneity. Alright, let's hit pause so we don't hear myself. Oops, sorry, there we go. Alright, not too many questions on this page, but let's take a look. Mize1Mize has a few questions. Can you use the 81 tiles mod for City Skylines? I might do it. For those of you who don't know, there are 81 tiles in the map of City Skylines. Only the 25 in the middle are playable. So basically, it's a 9x9 grid with the outer 2 on either side, on all sides, unplayable. But, yeah, the thing is, the 25 map is already really big, and the 81 tile map might create some problems. I don't know, but I'd be willing to try it just for fun, I think, at some point. He's also suggesting the tree brush mod. Yes, that would help my clicking. And yes, and then a bunch of questions. Can you drive here and there in your city? And yes, I did all those things in episode 50, which was released after this. So you've already got your answer to that. And he asked, can you make another Monopoly board game series? You know, it wouldn't. I'm not ruling that out as a possibility. For those of you who don't know, back in 2012, I think was the right year, I made a series of games that I developed with my friend called Super Monopoly, which was basically a major expansion pack to the rules of Monopoly that included things like taxation, inflation, price wars, the mayor, and boogie cards, a whole new set of cards. And it made the game much more interesting. Of course, it made the game a lot longer, too. Monopoly, already famously a long game. So that's sort of like the one fatal flaw with the game. But I would not be opposed to doing that again, but I don't really have any ideas at the moment. But something to be considered, I suppose. And how many videos after MM, or 2000, is this answering video? Well, I can find that out pretty quick. Well, that's there. There's 6 videos per row. That's 3 rows. That's 24 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 28. This is going to be video 2029 if we are saying that the 2000s video was really number 2000. This will be 2029. So, okay. But we have some more questions from ZL Entertainment, longtime House of Sim member. How you doing, buddy? He says, I like the idea of you doing travel videos. It's something I've been thinking on doing in the future, and I'll be quite interested to see you do your travel stuff. Yes, I talked about that quite a lot in the last video, and I still want to do this idea. I really do think that I will be at least starting it in the first months of 2018. I might go somewhere small and local. I'm probably going to make a whole new channel for this, by the way, but I will, link it on Bone Canoe 86 so that you know that it's been created and to go over and watch the cool videos. Okay, the next question. These are all by ZL Entertainment. What are your top 3 favorite foods and drinks? Ooh. Well, I'm going to say pizza for sure. That's definitely one of them. Burgers. I love burgers. So definitely already those 2 things are very well established on that list. But as far as the third thing, there's like a lot of things that could be on there, like cheesesteaks maybe, lasagna or other Italian food, sushi. Love sushi. Maybe a good steak. I don't know. But I guess I'm going to go ahead and say sushi. As amazing as the other stuff I listed it's quite wonderful. When I had it for the first time, it was like the voice of angels, and I just felt like floating after I ate it. I don't know what it is in that fish or in whatever they have on it, but I just felt very happy and at peace after I ate it. Who knows? Maybe there's LSD in sushi, and no one's ever told me. Probably not, but yeah. So pizza, burgers, sushi. Oh yeah. And as far as drinks, you didn't specify whether it was alcoholic or not, but I'll give you, let's see. Well, if we are talking in terms of alcoholic drinks, I really like Yuengling beer. That's my favorite sort of big beer. It's not a worldwide beer. It's not even like a countrywide beer. It's produced in Pennsylvania, but it is available in most eastern states, so it's pretty well known. Yuengling, very good. In terms of, there have been like a lot of local microbreweries that I've tasted, and the beer is better than Yuengling, because a lot of those microbreweries have very high qualities, but it's very hard to compare micro and macro, And so I like that. I like Jim Beam whiskey, but it's too expensive to buy most of the time. Like, it's about $30 for a fifth. A fifth is a fifth of a gallon, or about 750 milliliters. But if I get the cheap stuff, which I'm enjoying right now, that's often less than $10 for a fifth. So, in other words, it's a fourth of the cost of Jim Beam. Of course, Jim Beam tastes much better, but sometimes you can't always spend. If I spent as much, if I drank as much as I did, but did it with Jim Beam, I would be spending like a sizable portion of my salary on my drinking budget, and we can't have that. So most of the time I stick to the cheap stuff, and I break out the Jim Beam for special occasions. I'm pretty sure for my birthday, which is coming up in February, I'm going to buy myself some Jim Beam for that. And apart from that, I love a good cocktail, but I don't really know enough about cocktails to say what my favorite one is. I just sort of, try one, I'm like, oh, this is good, and then I forget. I'm the kind of guy who, most of the time, I'm very satisfied with the simple things, just a little bit of whiskey with some over ice. But other times, I really do like the finer things on the rare occasions that I will treat myself or be treated by somebody else. As far as non-alcoholic drinks, I love cranberry juice. Oh my god, anything with cranberries in it, whether it's cran apple, cran grape, cran raspberry, delicious. I love cranberries. I love cranberry at Thanksgiving. I like it in my soup. Well, in my soup, what am I talking about? In my, you know what I'm talking about. In my, what am I talking about? I don't know. But I like cranberries just in any form. So, cranberry juice of any kind is great. And coffee. I love coffee. Especially black coffee. But I will have a latte once in a while, and I really like mocha mint. That's probably my favorite latte. And of course, I love plain water. So that's 3 non-alcoholic, and I think I listed 3 alcoholic. So there you go. You get 2 answers for the price of 1. Okay. Next question. You mentioned in a previous video about writing and music. How many songs have you written, and have you written any stories? Okay, well, it depends on what you count as a song, because in my childhood, there were plenty of things that were like 30 seconds long, didn't really amount to much, but were just little diddles on the computer or whatever. If we don't count those, and we only count things that could be truthfully called songs, the grand lifetime total of how many songs I have written is at minimum 200, at maximum maybe 400. If you put in those little diddles that don't really amount to anything, the total probably approaches 1,000, literally. Yeah, I used to write a lot of music. Now, at the age of 15, I had sort of a breakthrough in writing music, because before that, it was mostly little diddles with some complete songs. But I really found my stride that year, and I started numbering my songs at that point and organizing them into albums. And kind of interestingly, I had a song called Roo, R-O-O, Roo, that I wrote when I was younger. And then there was a Roo 2 and a Roo 3. Nothing too special, but it was really Roo 4. That song was the one that sort of set everything in motion. So after that, everything was Roo with a number after it. Just a sort of a little tradition that carried over for a very long time. And between the ages of 15 and 18, I got all the way to Roo 118. So those are 118 songs that were complete and done. When I went off to college, I kind of dropped off with that for a while. Did still write a few songs on piano, although whether those could be considered complete songs is still up for debate. Then in my early 20s, I got back into the whole swing of the Roo thing for about a little less than 3 years. And I went from 120 up to, I forget what the final number was, but I think I might have reached the low 170s. The last couple of songs were actually lost in a computer crash, so I don't know exactly how high I got. But I'm pretty sure it was into the low 170s, or at least the high 160s at minimum, which adds up to around 50 additional songs. And that just counts all that stuff with the Roo prefix. I've written songs with Mike. If you watch Sunplant, that's Vincent Van Mike. So that's why I say 200 is the bottom estimate. And if you want to include little diddles that are in varying stages of completeness from my earlier life and also my more recent life, that number approaches the several hundreds, possibly up to 1,000. So yeah, lots, but not enough, and not nearly enough good ones. And have you written any stories? Yes, a lot of stories. Not so many recently, but in my teens and early 20s, I wrote a lot. Most of them, especially anything made before about the age of 18 or so, and even some of the stuff made after, is pretty bad, pretty basic, but of course you have to start somewhere, so I'm not ashamed that it's bad, but it's just like the training wheels. The first novel I wrote was at the age of 13, and I say novel in quotes because like it's still pretty short by novel standards. Like I think it meets the minimum threshold for what's conventionally considered a novel, but just barely. And it's not very good. I mean, it's very creative in terms of what happens and the ideas in it, but the actual writing style is very primitive. But that was sort of the equivalent of the Rue thing in my music. This first story that I wrote over the course of a year, starting in the spring of 1999 and finishing in the spring of 2000, that was what sort of started that whole thing off. And that one novel turned into a series of, I think, 4 or 5 completed ones and 2 or 3 more planned ones. But the series became very unwieldy, and I had an unfortunate habit throughout most of my life from that, mid-teens on, is that most of my stories were very, very X-rated, and they contained a lot of kinks and fetishes that are not widely enjoyed by most people. So the audience for these things are very, very niche. So, and like, I always knew I was sort of wasting my effort on that because I was writing stories that would not be enjoyed by the vast majority of people. But for some reason, I guess I got used to writing them, and I just kept writing them, and they got better. When I was 20 through 22, I started a story that ended up being as long as the longest Harry Potter novel. I'm not even joking. Its word count is only a few thousand words short. It has in the order of 250,000 words, and this story just blew up in size. It's quite an accomplishment, but like I said, it's all weird fetish stuff, and it's not that interesting to most people. There's really nothing deep in that story either. It's one of the most just fun, random stuff happens, kind of stories. I mean, there is a plot, of course. There are actually like 13 characters or something on that order, and that's part of the reason it's so long, is because like each of those characters gets roughly equal time, and when you give that many characters that much time, especially when you're as verbose as me, that tends to pad things out quite a bit. But in recent years, I've continued writing. Some things have been fairly long. I have a problem writing anything short. Just like I have problems making short videos or just doing anything short in general. Like, everything is always super long, and I have a hard time. Like, if I'm trying to make an argument or I'm trying to express an idea or a story, I have a real hard time condensing it down into like a small fragment, I just make things way too long. But I am a very good writer. I can say that without any sense of false modesty. I am a very good writer, and if I actually put my mind to writing something that people are going to want to read, there's a chance that people are going to want to read it. Maybe I should start asking viewers for writing prompts. I don't know. And you have one more question on this page. You say, also in a previous video, you mentioned you want to be a builder. Have you ever thought about what buildings might look like from alien planets? Well, that's an interesting concept, because there's always been a number of artist depictions of what buildings will look like from other planets, and the thing is, like, among Earth cultures, you have such a diversity of building types, throughout history, throughout different climates, and throughout different places, and even within the same place, throughout different times. You can get from Gothic to sort of like the plantation style in the South, the colonial style, Gothic revival, then you get modernism, like postmodernism. You have a lot of these different things, Victorian, and of course you have Eastern influence styles, you have all that cool stuff that they've done in Thailand, and just very different styles, and that's within just one human existence. We've had that. So I think what aliens' buildings would look like would largely depend on the local conditions of where they're built, because the most basic factor that contributes to a building's design, I believe, is the climate and the terrain, and also the materials available. For example, Northern Europeans built these big timber houses because of all the trees that were available, and because of the need to have something sturdy to support the weight of the snow on the top, and also keep the people inside warm. And so you see a lot of that architecture proliferating, and it spread to most European countries. In more southerly climates, you'll get a lot more flat roofs. You'll get a lot more open structures, that breathe a lot more, because in a hotter climate, you're less concerned with keeping the heat in. You are more concerned with having a good airflow so that you don't overheat while you're sitting in your building. When I was in San Diego at the age of 17, I was amazed at how many buildings were like just open, I was at the zoo, the San Diego Zoo, and there's this bathroom that's literally open. The wall only goes up like yay high, and the air just comes right in, and it just like blew my mind, because I could never imagine anything up north, And it was February too. It was like 65 in February, of course, in San Diego. But alien buildings will depend on the climates that they're in. Assuming that we have roughly similar, if life exists in roughly similar climates and gravitational conditions and all that, that's another factor. Houses are going to have to be a lot more sturdy of construction if there's more gravitational forces wearing down on them. If there's less gravity, you're going to see a lot more vertical architecture, I would think. I tend to think that the more gravity you have, the more squat buildings will be, because you can't put as much high. Like if it's a high gravity planet, there's going to be a lot of low, long buildings that might only be one story, or a very small number of stories, are built of sturdy materials. Depending on how long or how far into the civilization these people are, it could just be stones, or it could be synthetic materials of some sort, manufactured materials, but they would be very thick and very sturdy. And I think that alien architecture would use the materials available locally, whether it be stone or mud, or whatever their equivalent of wood would be. And as they progress through technology, they can make more synthetic materials. I think we'd end up finding a lot of similarities. We would probably come out with a lot of rectangular buildings like we have, just because they're the most efficient to build and maintain, I think. We would have a lot of symbolic architecture too, things that stand for whatever they want. I mean, almost every culture has buildings that have like a spire or something that sort of is a beacon upwards, and they'll often put like a cross or any symbol that's relevant to the particular people. And I think we'll find that in alien architecture, that they're going to build those kind of things. And I think that, yeah, it will look strangely familiar to us, but also very unfamiliar too, because of the different alien minds at work, the different things valued by aliens, and of course, things like the moldings and all the little decorative details. That's probably where the biggest differences are going to be found, because I do believe an alien culture sophisticated enough to build buildings would have art, so they wouldn't just have plain, bland, modernist buildings. I mean, they might have some, because we have some, but it wouldn't be everything, you know? They would have their equivalent of stained glass. They would have their equivalent of like little figures carved into the moldings on the walls and all that. But how those would be arranged and what those would look like, that is where you would run into your key differences between human and alien architecture. But I'm pretty sure you'd have things that were important to those civilizations and to their histories and to their values depicted through their architecture, just like we have. And what exactly that would look like is very impossible to imagine, but I imagine it would be quite honestly breathtaking. So, well, that does bring us to the end of the questions left on video 4. We still have 5 through 7 to go, and we're going to do that next time. I think this is a good enough length. So I want to thank all you guys for asking questions, and you can still ask more. It's all good. All right, guys. I'll see you all soon.